Beijing's exhibition halls this August hold more than 2,000 robot exhibits from over 300 companies, most of them Chinese. Somewhere in that crowd sits the real question: how many of these machines keep a job once the show lights go dark? A few miles away, the answer was already trading. Retail investors flooded a single humanoid robot maker's order book more than 8,000 times over, and you can trace both numbers to the same week in Chinese industry. The conference's official theme was commercialization, not spectacle, and the products on the floor reflected that shift. Parcel sorting arms built for warehouse aisles, delivery carts wheeling through hotel lobbies, and factory floor humanoids bolted to assembly lines. Chinese robotics manufacturers have compressed product cycles that used to take years into months. Compressed timelines do not automatically mean tested products fit for a full daily shift on someone else's floor. Every exhibitor on that floor was betting the gap would close fast. That gap between a booth demonstration and a paycheck is where the conference's own numbers get interesting. More than 150 new products launched at the show, according to Reuters, spread across parcel sorting, electronics assembly, logistics, and general factory work. Is a product launch the same thing as a product that survives a full shift on a warehouse floor? Reuters reporting on the show described one sorting robot running continuously for 900 to 1,000 hours, performing at roughly 85% of a human worker's output. That is close, but it is not parity, and the distance matters more the longer a machine stays on the clock. Meanwhile, the capital markets were writing their own version of the story. A single Shanghai listing pulled in retail orders worth more than 8,000 times the shares on offer, a subscription level Reuters described as pushing valuation past 60 billion yuan against 2025 earnings multiples near 219 times. Turn from the factory floor to the trading floor, though, and the mood changes entirely. One veteran Hangzhou investor told Reuters that the company was strategically important to China, its humanoid robots positioned to challenge Elon Musk's Optimus program. Retail buyers were not pricing a warehouse tool. They were pricing a national contender, and national contenders do not always behave like ordinary industrial equipment once the excitement settles. Chinese humanoid robot shipments reached 93,100 units in the first half of 2026, nearly 4 times the volume from a year earlier, according to Reuters. That number sounds like traction, but it sits inside a supply chain stretching from component makers to systems integrators to the buyers who actually put a robot to work. A machine counted as shipped is not the same as a machine counted as employed. Where do all the robots leaving Chinese factories this year actually end up working? The Beijing show floor did not create this position. It just made it visible. The International Federation of Robotics reported in April 2026 that 54% of every industrial robot installed worldwide in 2024 went into a Chinese factory. And IEE Spectrum's review of that data found roughly 2 million industrial robots now running in China, near 4.5 times Japan's operating fleet. South Korea still leads on density, with 1,120 robots for every 10,000 manufacturing employees in 2024. Japan, which held that top spot from 1994 to 2009, has slipped to 5th place at 446 per 10,000, a measure of how many robots serve every 10,000 manufacturing workers. At Tokyo's own Humanoid Summit this year, Chinese systems outnumbered Japanese entries by roughly 3 to 1 among the machines on display, a ratio IEE Spectrum called a warning sign for a country that once defined the category. Price told a similar story. Unitree's G1 Humanoid launched in 2024 at $16,000, while a domestic rival, High Torque Technology, priced its mini-Pi biped at $3,500 the same year. Had most manufacturing customers even decided what to do with a humanoid robot before it became a consumer-adjacent purchase? Back on the Beijing floor, the answer to the opening question comes into focus. Reuters found real deployments already running. Humanoid units delivering room service in hotels, other units bolted into assembly lines producing electronics. The same reporting flagged the caveat that mattered most. Large-scale adoption beyond pilot programs remains limited, even as the exhibit count climbs past 2,000. A robot that works in one hotel is not the same as a robotics industry that works everywhere at once. Back on the trading floor, the multiples told their own number story. Reuters priced the offering at roughly 219 times 2025 earnings and 36 times sales, ratios normally reserved for software companies rather than hardware manufacturers carrying factories, suppliers, and warranty obligations. A hardware company priced like a platform company is a specific kind of signal, not a neutral one. It signals what the order book believed about growth not yet proven on a single assembly line. None of these numbers exist in isolation. A market that installs more than half the world's industrial robots and floats a humanoid maker at software company valuations operates on a different clock than most manufacturing economies. The scale question is no longer whether China builds robotics hardware. It is what happens once that hardware leaves the exhibition hall and enters payroll. The precise multiple per that Reuters dispatch came to 8,288.82 times, among the largest retail order books recorded on Shanghai's exchange for an industrial listing that year. That much money rarely arrives by accident. Numbers that large do not measure demand for a product. They measure a wager on an entire category's future. Put the manufacturing numbers next to each other, and a shape emerges. China installed a little over half the world's new industrial robots in 2024, per the International Federation of Robotics, and now runs roughly 2 million of them on factory floors, nearly 4.5 times Japan's current operating fleet. Density tells a different story than raw count, though. South Korea's 1,220 robots per 10,000 workers still beats China's rate, and Japan has fallen to 5th place worldwide after leading that ranking from 1994 to 2009. Scale and intensity are not the same achievement, and China's 2026 advantage sits almost entirely in scale. The capital markets carried their own imbalance, and it resolves the question the trading floor raised. Investors bid Unitree's retail order book up 8,288.82 times, pricing the offering at 219 times 2025 earnings and 36 times sales days before the World Robot Conference even opened. That enthusiasm sat oddly beside the company's own product line. The G1 Humanoid retailed at $16,000 in 2024, while a domestic competitor's biped sold for $3,500 the same year. Investors were not pricing what robots cost. The gap between exhibition scale and paid work closes the last open question. The World Robot Conference logged more than 2,000 exhibits and over 150 new product launches this August. But Chinese humanoid shipments for the first half of 2026 totaled only 19,100 units. And Reuters reported analyst estimates that 50% to 70% of robots built this year could end up inside data factories, generating training footage for other machines rather than doing paid work themselves. A robot photographing its own movements for a training set is not a robot holding a job. Beijing's exhibition halls were full of machines proving a technology. Fewer of them were proving a payroll line yet. Put together, the manufacturing base, the capital markets reaction, and the shipment count describe an industry moving at several different speeds at once, and none of those speeds has synchronized yet. Wen Hao's framing of Unitree as strategically important to China previewed exactly this kind of desynchronization, political importance moving faster than operational proof. That imbalance is the real story behind both the show floor and the ticker. None of this is a verdict, and the caveats matter as much as the totals. The 85% productivity figure for Roboterra's sorting robot came from the show floor itself, a manufacturer's claim relayed by Reuters rather than an independently audited benchmark. Reuters' own reporting called large-scale adoption beyond pilot programs limited in the same dispatch. A demonstration is not an audited production line, and the distinction should stay in view. The data factory estimate carries its own uncertainty. Reuters described analysts placing 50% to 70% of this year's humanoid output inside training environments rather than paid deployments. But that range is wide enough to describe two very different industries, and Reuters did not name the analysts behind it. Wide ranges like that usually mean the counting itself is still catching up to the manufacturing. Reuters flagged the range, not a resolution. The capital market side carries its own warning. a 219 times earnings multiple prices in years of flawless execution that have not happened yet. And Reuters' coverage stopped at the offering's size and subscription level rather than forecasting where the valuation goes next. The stock's opening week enthusiasm and the company's operating history are not the same evidence, even when headlines blend them together. Timing matters here too. The installed robot and density figures describe 2024, the conference figures describe this August, and the shipment total describes only the first half of 2026, stitched into one narrative because they point the same direction, not because they were measured together. That is not a flaw in the reporting, it is simply where verification stands. The density gap also complicates any simple ranking. China's 2 million industrial robots make it the largest single fleet in the world. But South Korea's per-worker density means a Korean factory floor is, on average, still more automated than a Chinese one. Step back from the ticker, though. Reuters and IEE Spectrum were describing different things when they described robotics leadership this year. One measuring the size of the machine, the other measuring how deeply it had spread through the workforce. Whether Chinese commercialization eventually closes that density gap is not something the current numbers can answer. Beijing's exhibition halls will close for the season, and the show floor will disperse across factories, hotels, and warehouses that may or may not keep the machines running past their trial period. The order book that oversubscribed by more than 8,000 times will settle into ordinary trading, where 219 times earnings either compound into a functioning robotics industry or get repriced against it. 2,000 exhibits proved China can build robots faster than almost anyone. Whether it can employ them at scale is a separate, unresolved account, still being written one shift at a time. The conference proved the hardware. The market proved the appetite. Facts over fear.